Welcome to Live Ready, Beyond Think and Grow Rich with your host, me, David Ibarra, and our special guest, Randy Shumway. Welcome, Randy.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Randy, I want to jump in and talk about the first time I met you. I went out to this dynamite environment called the Cicero Group, and I want you to tell us just about where did you come up with this idea? How did it come about? And what is the emphasis of not only data, but turning things around from the inside out, schools and beyond?
Cicero Group's rated one of the top 50 consulting firms in the world. What I'm most proud of is it's rated one of the top 5 best to work for in the world.
Wow.
We're a management consulting firm focused on data, strategy, and operational improvement. So we help organizations solve complex problems and drive real change within their organizations.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you've done a lot of work with the education sector of our country, schools and what have you. Could you talk a little bit about what it is that you've done and maybe even share a success?
In 2001, we founded Cicero. And a few years later, I was serving on the school board in the Bay Area, California, and saw many of the challenges our various schools were encountering were not dissimilar from challenges large organizations that we were consulting were navigating as well. So very similar principles of continuous improvement to improve student performance. And so we began a company called Education Direction. Education Direction goes in and we'll do an exhaustive root cause analysis to understand what the primary challenges are that are obstructing maximum improvement in student learning. We overlay evidence-based practices that have shown to have the highest effect size at improving student performance. And then we roll up our sleeves and we inculcate practices of continuous improvement throughout the school in order to really improve student outcomes. 86% success rate at turning around a failing school and helping them improve substantially. Doing this all over the country, working with hundreds of schools. Almost all of them are failing schools. Many of them are schools that have underperformed for decades and society has given up and said, right, we can't fix it. And that's
and I would assume that
it's crazy.
Many of these are in areas that are underserved or difficult.
Statisticians will say that socioeconomics are the best indicator of a school's performance. But the socioeconomics do not determine the performance of a school or the performance of a student. Every student can learn. Right. And if you will engage the students, the parents, the support, the community, if you will align the curriculum with what students need to know and what they need to be able to do, you'll have enormous success. I could give story after story after story. I was in one school that had seen significant improvements in performance, and the governor and the legislature had come out, the media had done a big story about it, and after everybody left, the principal said, "Randy, do you want to go into one of these classrooms and see firsthand?" I said, "Absolutely." He said, "Pick any one you want." So we walked down the hall, we walk up the stairs, walked down the hall a little bit. I wanted to make sure, it wasn't the first classroom we came up to. And I said, "This one." He goes, "Oh, this is the best classroom of our entire school." And I said, "You'd probably say that about every one of them." He goes, "Yeah, I probably would." So we walked in the class. The teacher was walking up and down the aisles, working with the students. They were in groups, and she saw us walk in and she goes, "Class, can I get your attention? Looks like we have 2 guests that have just walked in. Enrique, will you please stand and tell our 2 special guests what we're working on?" This young man, he couldn't have been more than 10 years old, stands up and in broken English, looking at his shoes, says, we are studying about the Loch Ness Monster. And he looks up and then looks back down at his shoes.
Wow.
He said, we're in groups of 2. I tell my classmate 3 things that I learned about the story. My classmate then adds 1 thing that he learned that I didn't. Then my classmate stands and shares with the rest of the group something he learned from me.
Wow.
And totally interactive, putting the, and think about this teacher. Rather than her explaining what they were doing, she showed this confidence in one of the students to have him stand and explain this to 2 guests that might be a little intimidating. And everything that I just mentioned, from the teacher wasn't sitting behind the desk. She was walking through the classroom, working working with each one of the students. They had groups. They were teaching one another. Evidence after evidence after evidence type approach to drive student learning and engagement. That's what our organization is doing. They have just tremendous impact. So Education Direction was a wholly owned subsidiary of Cicero's. We sold it 5 years ago to a company called MGT, just an incredible company, and they have invested the resources to expand Education Direction to be all over the world now.
You carved it off what you do so it could become a primary block of time by somebody else.
That's correct.
Become their main entree.
That's correct.
Yeah, that is so cool. As you know, I work with businesses all across this country and turning them around from the inside out. And it always starts with first creating, who are we?
Yeah.
We're going to move from a product service company to how we offer the products and services that we do. The how validates that the innovation is not just words, it's felt. I could just see that. You go in and you're talking to a superintendent, you're talking to principals, you're talking to teachers, similar to what I do with its president of a company, a general manager, or what have you. And in their eyes, you say, I've heard this before. Yeah. How do you get past that and into the belief, you know what, we can do this? Yeah. How is it that that is achieved?
We certainly have a lot of success stories that we can share. In Education Direction, every one of our improvement coaches, every one of our management consultants is a former educator. Every one of them has a graduate degree. They've been in the classroom, they've been at the school district, and so they bring a credibility, but also a set of best practices, techniques, a framework.
So the educators really are wanting to learn is what I'm taking.
Absolutely. And we're not displacing the educators.
Right.
We're empowering the educators. Mm-hmm.
And you became an educator for a purpose. You wanted to help the development of our future talent. In every aspect, in every role of our lives. Those that I recently moved to North Salt Lake from the city. I finally decided.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Needed to and got married, and I felt like it needed to be in a different environment. I hate leaving the city, but I'm still near the city.
We'll miss you downtown.
But I looked at my tax that came in, the property tax, and I looked at it. It was a big amount, and then I looked at the percentage, the pie chart, 70% for education, schools, and I thought to myself, oh, that's perfect. That's good. I have one natural son, one stepson, and some could say, but I don't have any children. Every child is our future. Everyone we should be investing in, and I got a smile on my face and said that is a good distribution of the taxes collected on the property of our homes.
Amen.
I wanted to move quickly. We're going to get into some current things here shortly, but I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about Randy Shumway. Your education. I understand at Harvard. Where were you raised? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, your parents, and the start of it all.
a wonderful, wonderful upbringing. I was raised in College Station, Texas. When I was raised there, a population of about 20,000, all attached to the university, Texas A&M University. When I was 8 years old, my dad did a sabbatical in Boston, Cambridge. We were living in Belmont, Massachusetts, and he's an agricultural economist, 6 kids, and he said, I really want to do this for a year, but I'll take a 50% cut in pay to do a sabbatical. And so, will the older kids pitch in? And my brother got a paper out. My sisters were doing various things. And I said, well, I was 8. I wanted to help. So my brother carved out 17 houses for me to deliver newspapers to every morning. And so I delivered the Boston Globe and quickly discovered that I could make more by going door to door to collect the monthly payment, because this 8-year-old, they'd get excited to see and they'd tip me. And then I'd build a relationship and say, hey, I can shovel your snow in the wintertime. So at the age of 8, I got the entrepreneurial bug of I loved having my own paper out, having the customer service orientation around that, developing a relationship, going to an adjacent business opportunity by shoveling their snow. And so when we moved back to College Station the next year, we went to the Bryan's College Station Eagle and convinced them their rule was you had to be 16, but since I had a year experience doing it for the Globe, they let me do it. I shared the paper out experience because I delivered newspapers for 10 years till I went to college. Every job, every opportunity came from that tree of learning, rain or snow, it didn't matter. 5:30 every morning, I'm on my bicycle, riding through the neighborhood, throwing the papers to people. And again, similarly, once I developed a relationship, they trusted me, so I started a landscaping business at 12 years old, and that ultimately paid for my college. And
I just caught in one of the things that we did here at the different companies that I'm blessed to have is I started looking at first, whether it was insurance, performance improvement, software that maybe somebody else didn't do that. Well, if somebody else isn't going to do it, it needs to be done, we'll do it. Brokering of new car franchise, automobile dealerships, et cetera. I started looking at, if I'm doing business with one company, what other services do they buy from elsewhere that we can do? And then adding onto our menu of things until we have now this building is full of people that just serve this one industry specialty.
Yes,
but that's interesting. I was also a paper boy on the corner right across from the Hotel Utah. My brother and I would go get the Tribune and the Deseret News, and we'd stand in front of their paper, read all about it.
Yeah.
And I would and people would see us young. I was 7, 8 years old. My brother was 8. I think I was 7. And they tip you.
Yeah, they tip you. They tip you. David, we'll talk in a moment about homelessness. Yes. But you will hear from me a commitment to the power of work to transform an individual's confidence, to give them purpose, camaraderie, propinquity as they engage with others. I'm sincere when I say many of the good things that have come throughout my life, I can track back to the lessons I learned delivering newspapers. And I'm a little worried that we've robbed people of the dignity that comes from employment. Yeah. Our intentions are good.
Every Monday, you got to have a place to go to work. My father taught me that he had like 3 jobs. we worked early, and my dad, when you would talk, what are you most proud of, Dad? Work.
Good day's work.
This would be a great
work.
time, and then I want to shift into
Yeah.
a conversation about homelessness. But let's take a moment and have a word from our sponsors. Yes, our kids can. We'll be right back.
Imagine if you could have learned the principles of success as a child. At Yes, Our Kids Can, we believe it's never too early to teach our children how to achieve their full potential. The purposeful tools of Yes, Our Kids Can are designed to teach resilience, self-efficacy, problem solving, character building, and life planning. You can help your child develop the skills needed for a successful and independent adult life. All you have to do is enroll your child today.
Let's move into the discussion of homelessness. What made you want to get involved in this absolute difficult problem that we're experiencing in almost every major city across America?
Shortly after graduate school, my wife and I moved to the Bay Area, and in our neighborhood, we got to know just this wonderful 13-year-old young man who had a pretty precarious home situation. Mm-hmm. And one night, we'd known him for a number of months. One night, we get a call. His mom had just been incarcerated again. He was scared. He said, "Can I just crash on your couch for a few weeks until things stabilize?" We said, "Absolutely." And fast forward 2 months, Child Protective Services engaged and said he can never return to that situation, and we're going to put him into foster care. I was 28 years old. My wife was 25. We didn't know what we were doing. We were kids. Mm-hmm. But we loved him. And Maureen said, "No. You're not putting them in foster care. We're going to we'll raise them."
And the child was what age, did you say?
Well, he's 13 when we first met him. He was 14 when he moved in. When we started to raise him, we ultimately adopted him. And our other 4 biological kids, they know no difference. That's their big brother, and they adore him. They adore him. He's just a wonderful, wonderful young man. And Maureen and I witnessed firsthand the plight of those facing those types of vulnerabilities, that types of marginalization. I mean, the trauma that he had experienced was pretty tremendous. It's what first got me involved in education, because we spent so much time at the dinner table reading and doing basic homework that I got involved at the schools, and which caused me to run for the school board, because I saw a meaningful population that was being neglected in the classroom, of which Ian was one of those individuals. So that Ian probably introduced us to this environment, and I became very sensitive to it. When we moved to Salt Lake City, I had breakfast with a woman named Pamela Atkinson. I love Pamela. And Pamela said, "Randy, what are you doing to help our most vulnerable?" And I started listing a few things, and she goes, "You're not doing anywhere near enough. I need you to do more." So I went down to the Catholic Community Services, St. Vincent's de Paul, and said, "Could we start serving breakfast here?" They were gracious, and that was 16 years ago. The second Saturday of every month, this coming Saturday is our assignment. We'll make 2,400 meals, both a breakfast and a sack lunch, and serve 1,200 individuals twice. And our family's been doing that for now 16 years. And my now 18-year-old daughter started when she was 2 years old. She would sit. We would stack milk cartons, and she'd stand on top of them and just put the napkin and the spoon and the plastic fork on it, the tray, and push it down. So that's what got us initially involved.
How would you describe the homelessness across this nation, the chronic issue? How would you describe it, and how do you get your arms around it?
So now let me transition to being a consultant, being a nerd, because I would tell you that from a policy standpoint, we have misdiagnosed the root problems, and therefore we've created solutions that are misaligned with what the real challenges are. First, we probably shouldn't call it homelessness. We probably should call it trauma. At the core, people are navigating some pretty traumatic circumstances. And for many of them, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Like, really hard things have been done toward them. Their circumstances have been precarious. The problem, David, is that we have said it's not your fault, and therefore it's not your responsibility to change. I think we've done a real number on individuals. You can look someone in the eye and say, a lot of the things that have happened to you are not your fault.
They are your responsibility.
You alone. Now, we're here to help, but you alone are going to be responsible for changing them. I'll defer to our oldest son. He's 40 years old now. At 14, he really struggled reading. Today, he has a graduate degree. He's an executive at a company. He's got 2 beautiful daughters, a wonderful marriage.
Wow.
He has completely changed the prospect for future generations because he took responsibility. The things that had happened to him were not his fault, but he took responsibility.
And gained the desire to make a difference. You know,
to change that trajectory.
I have to share that story means a lot to me. I was raised in Utah foster care from 1 to 14 and hid that I couldn't read. And I would count how many kids were going to get called before it was my turn to read. And I'd try to pick the paragraph and get it, and I couldn't. And then people laughed. And the feeling of being on the outside, looking in, that you don't matter. And then I met a 5th grade teacher by the name of Sam Francis, Walking Elementary, who got that there was something, a disability, and it happened to be a surface dyslexia, that I couldn't form, the letters would, it wouldn't last all the time, but I was so fearful of reading that I couldn't read. Today, it happens, I'll be in the middle of the reading to our group about something that we're going to do, and one of the group members will see I'm stuck, words got scrambled, and they'll just start reading, and I'll say, thank you, and then I'll start reading again. But it's folks like what you just shared, that Sam Francis and you, that I tell you what, it's difficult to understand how it feels unless you lived it, and you on the side of helping somebody change. Thank you. And that is excellent. Tell me, so we go on to chronic homelessness in America, and I think that we have a tendency of just, it's somebody's fault. Why are they there? Yeah. And not understanding that all folks that are experiencing it aren't experiencing it for the same reason. Right. Could you talk to us a little bit about that?
So let me start with one of the things we've done in the state of Utah is we have said we're not in the business of food and shelter. We're in the business of transforming lives. Mm-hmm. We are in the business of healing. We're in the business of rescue. So we have defined human dignity as the ultimate objective. The ultimate objective is not getting food to a person or shelter to a person. Those two are very important ingredients in helping a person achieve human dignity. but they're not the end result. The end result is human dignity. We've created the pathway to human thriving, codified it in state law, that focuses on helping an individual become PSDC, permanently housed, self-sufficient, drug-free, and crime-free. Because we know those are important, measurable components in helping an individual realize the potential within themselves. Third, we've accurately segmented between situationally homeless and chronically homeless. About 27% of our population in Utah, and this is consistent across the country, are chronically homeless. And their plight is different than the economic disruptions and challenges that are situationally homeless often encounter.
And if caught early, won't shift over into chronic.
So that's a common belief. It's actually not accurate.
Really?
We oftentimes will have people that are permanently sheltered that the next week are chronically well, the definition of chronically homeless is 12 months. So technically, yes. But the next week are on the street. And David, the worst thing we do as a society is allow people to live where habitation is not intended. Because when you're living on the street, and a lot of people don't want to admit this, but it's accurate. A person residing on the street for just 2 weeks will have been repeatedly raped, will have been physically assaulted, and will have been filled with such poisonous toxins that many of them don't even know their own names. Whatever trauma drove them to the streets, it is exponentially worse after living on the streets for 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
So we've got to prevent that from happening in the first place, because they are being preyed upon by really bad actors. They're having their dignity stolen, their civil liberties robbed by being on the street. So we've got to prevent that from happening. So for our chronically homeless, David, to a person, they are struggling with mental and behavioral health disabilities. They're struggling with substance use disorder. And yes, we have to get them shelter. We have to get them food. We have to get them security.
Right.
But we also have to get them the support, the healing to address the mental and behavioral health disabilities and to address the substance use disorder.
Certainly.
Because that's the root difficulty that they're navigating. And if we ignore that and just get them shelter, we oftentimes actually make the situation worse.
You know, I was reading a report, Randy, of the number of individuals, housing first, that just get everybody in a house that needs a house, and not addressing the cause, the depression, the anxiety that the person is feeling by being disconnected. The suicide rate of the individual that gets the house without getting the service is alarming.
Yeah.
Alarming. Tell us.
Housing First is very well intentioned. But let's look at the other side villages.
Certainly.
Wonderful, wonderful model. Mo Egan is one of the leaders out there.
Yes.
A dear friend. I like Mo Egan's statement, "I love you so much, I'll meet you anywhere you're at. But I love you way too much to leave you there."
Yes.
So the Other Side Villages provides secure housing, but they bring along with it expectations. So
That's right.
Imagine a person who has lost all hope being greeted at a facility that says, "I know you have lost all hope. I too have lost all hope in you. I don't expect you to sweep or put up your cot or roll up your mattress. I think you're so incapable that I'll do all of that for you." We exacerbate the root problems by doing that. Contrast that with the Other Side Villages. Or Mo Egan greets them and says, I believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up with the rest of the group at 4 a.m. and start making donuts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you haven't woken up at 4 a.m. in a long time. Well, tomorrow you're going to. The camaraderie, the confidence that comes from those expectations.
And the idea of, Joseph Grenny and Mo and, Dave Droscher, of the idea of before you get one of the homes, by the way, there is a home there called the Live Ready Manor, and that is the home that I bought and donated to the Other Side Village. And I wanted to be one of the first. I looked at this and this idea, that works. So I'm careful about what I donate to. When I hear nonprofit, a good majority of them have an idea, but they haven't executed. Joseph Grenny has an idea that's executed. And when I heard, you're going to go learn first what it means to be a member of a community before you earn the right to have one of the bungalows, one of the manors, one of that. And then it's our responsibility to make this neighborhood the safest, cleanest neighborhood in the entire area in which it's located. Wow. The Other Side Academy, no, not in our neighborhood until they were in the neighborhood. And I'll never forget the home that was right next to him. There was a rehabilitation home for folks that had been injured and elderly folks. When she decided to retire, she called Joseph and said, I don't want anyone else to have this but you. And I'll never forget it. And I said, what do you need? And they were on my list to help give them what they need, but absolutely requiring the responsibility and then to get and to belong. Wow, I just struck me as
compassion. With compassion without expectations is indifference.
Right.
The Other Side network has married compassion with expectations, and they empower people. They instill dignity in those individuals. As the chair of the State Homeless Board, whenever we talk about facilities in a neighborhood, we will have the neighborhood come out and say, absolutely not. And I share with them, you're not opposed to helping your brother and sister who is vulnerable. You're opposed to crime. I need you to know that my neighbor is the Other Side Academy. I live right by them.
Right.
The Other Side Prep School. I live right by them. They are the very best of neighbors because of the expectations that are instilled within every one of their participants, every one of their members. What people are opposed to is communal degradation, of crime. And so one of the things we've done wrongly is we build these facilities and then we allow all sorts of bad behavior and for this vulnerable population to be preyed upon by criminals. If you instead build a facility that is committed to the proposition of human dignity and is providing the wraparound services and the expectations and the support to help people heal and get better, they're a tremendous asset to the community.
I want to quickly move, and you became the director of this initiative for the state of Utah. How did you decide to donate and give your time, which I happen to know by experience, you're running out, you're juggling a whole lot of plates. What made you decide to do that? And then tell us about a campus that is in the future of our state.
Well, I decided to do it because I was asked, and we have a culture in the state of Utah that when you're asked to volunteer, you say yes.
So who asked you?
Two or three individuals. The governor asked me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Ivory and Gail Miller.
That's exactly what I was going to think. Gail Miller had to be in there.
Those two were chairing the Utah Impact Partnership. It's the philanthropic community that said we want to come to the rescue of this vulnerable population.
Right.
And Gail Miller, Clark Ivory, two tremendous human beings committed to this this population. Said, Randy, you have the experience and you have the knowledge. Will you please assume this responsibility? We're the first state in the union, as far as we know, that has said we're going to address this at the state level. We're going to cross municipal lines, and because our homeless population crosses municipal lines, and we're going to take an evidence-based approach to coming to the rescue of individuals to help them make progress along this pathway to human thriving. The campus that we're talking about, it's interesting. A lot of people have spoken about the physical location and what the bricks and mortar are going to be. And to me, what's much more important is a philosophy, and that is that we're going to provide meaningful support and rescue for individuals that are suffering, and that we're going to invest significantly in the state in clinical and behavioral health and in substance use disorder. We're gonna provide the types of services and medical care that address the root problems that so many individuals who are living on the street are suffering from.
Well, I'm excited about seeing it as a campus. I've visited the campus in San Antonio, Haven for Hope, and you know what I was just awed by was the care of the individuals that work there and their interactions with the folks that maybe weren't very happy, but they remembered inside there was a spirit who needed help, and they were kind and fed, and when you're ready, I'll help you go through the door that you need to, whether it is medical, whether it's dental, whether it's detox, whatever. And I asked him once when I visited, how long does it take? About 39 times. And then somebody will say, hey, Randy, I can't do this anymore. Will you help me? Yeah. Desire kicks in, followed by hope in the journey to dignity. And then you have a change.
David, let me give you two just pieces of information, experiences. One, when we first started serving at St. Vincent's, Pamela Atkinson says to me, Randy, don't just give them food. When they come through the line, reach over, touch their shoulder, look at them in the eye, and say, thank you for being here. Yeah. I love you. That might be the first dignified interaction they've had in a month. Don't just feed them food, feed their soul.
Tell me. And
then the second is the Other Side Villages we mentioned earlier, and how successful they have been. Their model is they take individuals that are peers, earned by experience certifications. These are individuals who have traversed the same pathway that the vulnerable populations navigating at this time, but they have overcome. So they're able to look the person in the eye and say, I believe in you. You can do this. And it's 5-to-1. It's not 20-to-1 or 30-to-1. It is 5 individuals being coached by one mentor. You need that type of propinquity in order to transform a person's life.
You can read something, you can view something, but you don't know it until you teach it, until you're involved. That's when you become a disciple of it. And I just absolutely am incredibly excited about this. During the last 2 years, I invested quite a bit of money on my own dime. People were wondering, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? But I ran commercials just showing our streets. Yeah. And what my goal was to cause it to become the discussion that anybody running for an elected office would have to discuss it. And my hope that this would become a state issue, because then we could get the specialized talent team that is kept together, and it is a little bit heavier lift than maybe a mayor can handle, because you got to have that specialized talent team. I understand we're going to have a new director from the state.
Tyler Clancy.
I just absolutely was so excited when I heard that. Now, I want to we're coming towards the end of the time, but I'm going to keep going for a little while because this is really important. How is it that we convince, there's so many people that said, oh, you're creating you're criminalizing a homelessness. You're putting people against their will into a homelessness prison. You're hearing all kinds of really disappointing discussion being thrown at this. How is it that we handle that kind of negativity that's going to come your way for sure?
It's unfortunate, and it's sadly not very helpful. It does not understand the real challenges that people are navigating. You talk to individuals who have recovered, and to a person they say, please, please, come to the rescue. Like Mo Egan, Dave DeRocher, all tremendous individuals who have recovered and been a decade sober, say it was when I was faced with no alternative, when I was going to jail or I had to change, that I said, all right, remember that drugs rewire an individual's chemistry. Mm-hmm. We're not respecting a person's independence by letting them be preyed upon by bad actors on the street who are filling them with these poisonous toxins.
Yeah.
Those poisonous toxins are taking their agency away from them. So
when we look at fentanyl and the fentanyl bend and the things that you're seeing on the street, the inability to even, are you okay, to not hear a coherent response. If you love people, you'll intervene and rescue. I've heard Dave DeRocher, I heard Mo say, thank you for arresting me. Yeah. Had I not been arrested, I'd be dead today. We can do better. And I want to ask,
I've heard it hundreds of times, and let me make the statement that we are not criminalizing homelessness. What we're doing is taking individuals that are suffering from severe mental and behavioral health disabilities and substance use disorder and saying, we have a better path. And this is a rescue center, a home in which we will allow you to be away from the drugs, get the medical care, the therapy, the psychological support that you need in order to heal.
So we have the campus and we have a great idea. How is it that we get the legislature and others to fund it long term?
I think the legislature has appropriately said in the past, we are tired of spending more money to make the problem worse. Mm-hmm. And so what it resonates with the legislature is when we bring a smart strategy based on evidence-based practices, inculcating accountability and responsibility, and saying we will be responsible not for activities, but for outcomes, that the legislature says, we're committed, we want to invest. And we're seeing that from the philanthropic community, right. We're seeing that from the faith-based community, we're seeing that from the business community. They want results.
And they will spend, but they won't spend their money knowing the outcome is not a solution. The actions that are of the past aren't going to solve the problem. That just doesn't work. I am really excited about what's to come, Randy. I want to thank you so much for being on our program. I have a copy of my book, Live Ready, Beyond Think and Grow Rich. chapter 1, I give an example of one person, same mind, stuffed with different thoughts. One was negative, and he spent the first half of his life helping to destroy other lives. The second half of his life, saving lives, and that's the Dave DeRocher story.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on our program today.
An absolute treat. Thanks for having me.